let's talk about some Halloween books. Okay, no, stop. Hello everyone, I hope you're all doing really great. So today I'm gonna give you some Halloween book recommendations from someone who doesn't like scary books at all. I haven't read a couple of scary books, but it just gets too much for me. I read The Shining and I got scared by it. And literally everyone who like reads The Shining is like, okay, it's psychologically a bit scary, but it isn't really scary. And I've also read, oh, this one's actually scary. What was that one called? The Girl with All the Gifts. That's probably the scariest book I've ever read. Zombies creep me the fuck out. That's why. Today I'm gonna give you a bunch of book recommendations for Halloween, for scaredy cats, wimps like me. I can't watch horror stuff. I do want to give a small disclaimer though. I have watched American Horror Story, but I need to watch season 3, 3 and 4 with my mom. I have seen the first season by myself and I'm still trying to watch Hotel, but I've started it 4 times and it's so scary that I just can't get through it. Maybe I will try to get again this year. Let's get into the actual books. I'm rambling because I'm starting to get tired out from filming. So I have 3 different piles to recommend for you today, and they consist of books that I thought they're so Halloween based and atmospheric, but I gave them 3 and 4 stars. Then I have a pile of books that I gave 5 stars to that are graphic novels. Then I have a pile of 4 books that are slightly scary but very on the downside scale. So let's start with the books that I gave 3 and 4 star to that I think are perfect for Halloween. The first one is The Changeling by Victor LaValle. This one is compared to Haruki Murakami and I would disagree. It starts off very that sort of vibe. It is about, I should prepare something. Okay, I never do this, but I'm gonna read the back because I don't remember this. I remember the atmosphere being creepy, you don't know what's going on, it's super unsettling. There is no like outright horror elements. There is someone who's famous for showing up on Halloween coming later. I'll read it to you because I'm lame today. When Apollo Kagwa was just a child, his father disappeared, leaving him with recurring nightmares and a box labeled Improbabilia. Ooh. Now a successful book dealer, Kagwa has a family of his own after meeting and falling in love with Emma, a librarian. How lovely. The two marry and have a baby. So far so happily ever after, right? However, as the pair settle into their new lives as parents, exhaustion and anxiety start to take their toll. Emma's behavior becomes increasingly erratic, until one day she commits an unthinkable act, setting Apollo on a wild and fantastical quest throughout a sudden otherworldly New York in search of a wife and child he no longer recognizes. It's creepy, but not horror scary in a way, and that's why I recommend this. It does definitely have Murakami essences, try not to say vibes there, but the ending is a clear, definitive resolution, and it does explain everything that goes on in the book. So if you like ending that explains everything, I recommend this book. Then we have The Ocean at the End of the Lane by Neil Gaiman. I feel like all Neil Gaiman's books can be read during the fall. He just has that sort of writing and prose. Basically, this is about a middle-aged man who returns to... Why am I reading on the back today? This is not like me. He returns to his childhood home to attend a funeral. Okay, and then he starts to remember his past from when he lived in this house and how he got friends with this girl and her mother. I know there was a witch, there was some mysterious magical realism going on. I remember liking this, but not loving it. It has this sort of atmosphere where you don't really know what's going on and there is something creepy happening and it makes you uncomfortable, and that's all I remember. Like I said, I gave these like 3-4 stars. Then we have a book that I read a long time ago, way before book 2. This is Gil's All-Fright Diner by E. Lee Martinez. It's about these 2 people. One is a vampire, one is a werewolf. It's a comedy. I just want to put that out there, but it does have the werewolf, the zombie, the vampire in it. hence why I recommend it for Halloween. So they go into a bar and they just stop at a bar. They're on a road trip, and basically they end up having to save a lot of people, solve a lot of problems that the bar is having and the farm around it. I remember being funny. I remember also that I wasn't super engaged in it, but it's pretty hysterical. This book I've recommended before. This is Aaron by Simon P. Clarke. It's a middle grade about this boy who finds this creature in the attic, and the creature wants him to tell him loads of stories, and the boy tries to find good stories to tell the creature. So it's this whole like weird thing where you don't know if this creature is good, and it has a very eerie vibe. It's also told in prose, and it has some dark pictures I'll show you that just don't really illustrate all that much, and it all just adds to the story of like, who is this creature, why is it communicating with this boy, why is it in the attic, is it good, is it bad, so forth. I really enjoyed this as a middle grade. Then we have horror stories. Horror Stories by E. Nesbitt. It says horror stories, right? It's not. They're not scary. It's more like they have an element that just isn't quite right, and sometimes in the stories you know what that element is and sometimes you don't. So it's much more about the atmosphere, the stories being a bit off. There's an element that's sort of magical realism. Horror-y. I don't think any of these are scary. My favorite one is one of the first ones with a mirror. I also gave this 3 stars, but it's also like not a classic, but it was written back in the day, so you can definitely tell it from the language. Okay, then we have some graphic novels. I don't know why the scary or the Halloween-y books that I actually really recommend are all graphic novels, but here we are. Death Note. I know this is not creative. I know there's probably better horror manga. I recommend Jinju Ito for me, I'm not scared of body horror. I just don't like being scared. Like seeing things that creep me out, like, don't scare me. Jump scares do. Jinju Ito. Anyways, this is Death Note. You probably all know about it. Guy who finds a notebook, anyone who writes anything he writes in the notebook, any name he writes in the notebook, the person gets killed. There is a demon in here. I think the demon looks scary as fuck, but he's the sweetest dude, so I recommend this series. Then we have Monstrous by Marjorie Liu. I only read the first 2 books, so I can't recommend the series as a whole, but I feel like the graphics is very, like you can see they're very dark, but I don't think they're scary. It is much more about this vast fantasy world that you get to dive into, and it does have some horror elements, like she has a spirit inside of her with all these tentacles. So there's definitely things in here that are quite gruesome, and the art is quite graphic, I would say, and it's written in a very, or drawn in a very raw way, and that's why I think it's a scary pick for Halloween. Ooh, then we have this. I've heard that Emily Carroll's other book, Through the Woods, would also count as a good Halloween recommendation, but I've only read this one. This is When I Ride at the Castle. It is a lesbian, adult, sensual horror. I think that's how you would describe it. It's basically about this half human, half cat wolf that basically comes to this castle, and there's some sort of entity in the castle that is basically trying to lure her in, and things ensue. It's very nondescript in the way that you don't really know what's going on and you never really get the answers, but the art is very bloody and intriguing, and like some pictures are definitely quite scary, but what was that? Everyone okay? Yeah, definitely if there's any time to read this, it's during Halloween. I gave it 5 stars, I think. Then we have Anya's Ghost, which I also gave 5 stars. This is a graphic novel about Anya, who doesn't really like her life. She tries to distance herself from her Russian heritage. She falls in this hole, and there's a skeleton there, and a ghost starts to come up from the skeleton and basically attaches itself to her. So it's a story about the ghost, and it's not really scary, but it definitely has like some elements of eeriness, specifically like later on. I know for people who like scary stuff, it's like, this isn't scary, but we're talking about people who don't like scary stuff, okay? So if you want to get into the Halloween-y essence vibes, then this is a good pick. also because the artwork is like very black and white and dark. Then we have another fun, this is I think a comedy, but Fake Blood by Whitney Gardner. It is also a graphic novel about this guy who falls in love with a girl who is obsessed with vampires, and so he acts like he's a vampire to get her attention, but then there's a plot twist. It's funny as hell. There are actual real vampires in this, okay? So I really liked it. It's quite funny. Vampires, Halloween, you see the connection? Okay, then we have 4 books, and I think these 4 books are the actual recommendations for Halloween, but I want to give a warning because I think all of these books are actually scary. You know what I mean? But on my level scary. I hope that makes sense. The first one is Say Her Name by Juno Dawson. This one I read in like one day. It takes place in a boarding school, and there is a ghost, Bloody Mary, basically, that comes out of a mirror, and it's like so fucking creepy. Like, this book haunted me for like a year after, where I would not be able to go to the bathroom at night because like I would start thinking the name Bloody Mary, and I was like, I need to get out of here, she's gonna take me, you know? Like, it's scary, but at the same time it is a young adult, so the things that are scary are not like super scary, you know what I mean? It's still like young adult level, but for me this was scary. I really liked it. It's very captivating. It has like a open ending where you don't really know what happened to Bloody Mary at the end, which I love. It also makes you shit yourself at night. I'm really excited to read more of Juno Dawson's scary stuff that she used to write before the stuff she writes now. I don't know why I haven't picked it up before. This is great. Then we have this I read last Halloween, and it got me totally in the mood, so I want to recommend it again. And that is Something This Wicked Way It Comes by Ray Bradbury. This is the ultimate Halloween pick because the book actually takes place on Halloween. It follows 2 best friends. They're very different. One is born on Halloween and the one is born the day after. There is this carnival that basically comes into town, and there's all these strange characters that come with the carnival, and they try to like drag these boys into their carnival mystic stuff. And the dad of one of the 2 boys, he basically gets involved, and he's a huge character in the story, and it's really fun when parents are part of the story because I feel like that never happens. It has so many like Halloween-y feels, but when I talked about this book a year ago, someone did comment in the comments saying like that this book gave them nightmares. For me, it didn't at all. I don't think it's scary. It's just very luscious, and the language is very descriptive, and I really enjoy that. Like, it really, really puts you in the atmosphere of this like dark, creepy, unsure environment. It's just very, very, very well written. The next book I want to talk about is this was the last book I finished actually, and this book is just perfect, I think, for people who don't like horror but like the feeling. I don't know if that makes any sense. So this is Fever Dream by Samantha Schweblin, and every time I look at reviews of this book, right after I finished it, I just need to look at reviews, and basically everyone who read this book says the same thing, but even the 2 stars and the 4 stars say the same thing. Like, I didn't understand this book at all, it doesn't make any sense, and one part of you have like, I loved it, and the other part's like, I hated it. So I think this is really like a hit or miss book for most people because it's all about the feeling. This book is about this woman who is on a hospital bed, and this boy basically with her, trying to coax a story of what happened in the past out of the woman. And the woman starts telling the story, and the whole book is written in their conversation format. And the woman starts telling a story about her daughter, and they were in this house, and they met this woman, blah blah. It's not really that important. But Schweblin basically builds up this tension in the book that makes you so anxious and so frustrated and so giddy with anticipation of what is actually going on, because you never really get any answers throughout the story, but it's so filled with this anxiety of like, why is this happening, what's going on, what are the worms within her that they're referring to. And it's so uncomfortable, and it will give you the creeps, but there is no real scary element. I don't want to spoil anything because I thought the ending was great, but I just want to inform you, I think this will give you the feeling without giving you the thing. And sometimes for most people, or a lot of people, that's worse when you don't get an answer and you just have this feeling that something's wrong, but you don't know what it is. And for some people, it's worse to hear in actual words. So it all depends on what type of person you are and what type of reader you are. For me, I love the feeling, but I just don't want to know. Because when I start to know, then I start to develop this picture. But when I don't, it's like, ooh, I don't know. So I highly recommend this. I gave it 5 stars. Loved it. Then we have a classic, Caroline by Neil Gaiman. This is about a girl who comes to a new town. Her parents are very disassociated from her, and she starts to explore this big new house that she's in, and she discovers a pathway to an alternate reality where her parents are actually interested in her and not consumed by their work. Hence the scary stuff comes. Yeah. So this is actually my Swedish Norwegian edition, and I don't have the one that I usually have, but yeah, like these illustrations are so scary, but it is a middle grade, so even though it creeps you out, it doesn't consume you with fear, and it does have a happy ending, so that really helps a lot. I love this movie. I watch it every Halloween, and my favorite illustrated edition is the Chris Riddell edition, which I really love, but I like this one too. So that was a long video, and it's hard to recommend books for people who are scared of certain things, because I think we are all scared of different stuff when we watch or consume or anything. Like for me, there was this one book that I want to read, but I don't. It's like the house at the bottom of the ocean or something like that, and it's all about like the fear of suffocating underwater, and it's like my biggest fear. Like I'd rather burn alive than drown. Like that's the worst. And for some reason I'm like, I need to read that, but anyways, fear is subjective, so comment down below some books that you recommend for scaredy cats and why you recommend it for wimps like me on Halloween. I hope you guys got some good book recommendations for this, that you enjoy your creepy October, and I will talk to you guys soon. Bye!